Hello, my name is Allan Bonner, and I'm here a little early in advance of a Mackenzie Institute briefing on security. We know security is important to all of us, and by security we mean everything that word entails, from threat analysis, quantitative risk assessment, emergency planning, mitigation, response, and recovery. Well, we know you can't attend every event, but we still wanted to help foster discussion, debate, and education on these topics for you. This is a replay of a half-hour learning television special on communication. It's been said that a disaster is also an information disaster. Evacuation orders have sometimes killed more people than the emergency. Pilots sometimes misread their own instruments and crash. Operators sometimes can't see their own hands in control rooms because of the smoke. In a cybersecurity breach, you have to notify everyone whose personal information you've let slip through. The postage alone can cost $20 million. And if you don't do it exactly in the right way, you have to do it again by law. So take a look at this half-hour special on communication, do's, don'ts, tricks, tips, some case studies, the Mackenzie Institute Long Talk. Oh, hi, my name's Allan Bonner, and for someone who's going to speak to you for about 30 minutes about powerful communication, I've got a bit of a communication problem. It's with the pizza delivery guy. Hi, yes, Allan Bonner, Queen Street, 416-961-3620. I've ordered from you before, half anchovies and half cheese, please. Yeah. Now he says, number? I just told him. 416-961-3620. Big pause till the screen pops up with my address on it. Yes, I'm still on Queen Street. I've ordered from you before. I'm getting that tone in my voice, you know. He says, what would you like? I've just called the pizza parlor. I'd like a pizza, half cheese, half anchovies, please. And now he's mad at me. So I had to learn how to do it differently. Here goes. Hi, I'd like to order a pizza, please. I've just called the pizza parlor. Yes, I have ordered from you before, 416-961-3620. Big pause. Screen comes up. Yes, I'm still on Queen Street. Yeah, I've ordered from you before. What would I like, he asks. He's at the pizza parlor. But half anchovies, half just cheese, please. Okay, good. Now, the second version of that felt so much more painful psychologically, took so much longer in my mind than maybe it did on the clock, but it got the job done. So communications theory says be audience-centered. Focus on achieving your goals. Do it the way the recipient of the message may need, even if it's the pizza delivery guy. Adjust your style. Save the time, energy, and money. Whether you're writing a speech or making a presentation or doing a pitch in the sales department, whether you're just writing the presentation or delivering it as well, good, effective communication is money in the bank. You know, communication is probably one of those really overworked words in the first part of the 21st century. Marriages fail and people blame, no communication. An executive is passed over for promotion because he couldn't communicate. And political success is given to the great communicator or the great debater. What's all that mean? Well, for me, good communication is money in the bank. It saves time. There are fewer arguments. It is a competitive advantage. 20% of all business communication is designed to clear up the confusion that the last piece of business communication created. These days in the world, with trademarks, patents, labor laws, and trade deals leveling the economic inputs of a good or service, one of the few competitive advantages you can get these days is good communication. The communication department in a large organization can achieve something in hours. Retool the web page, write a press release, hold an event, write a speech. But HR, PR, and legal sometimes take years or months to get something done. So my agenda with you today is to talk about the SOCKO communication system, a powerful platform to get your message across, diagrams to speak visually, and verbal karate to turn the energy of your opponent to your advantage. SOCKO. This is an acronym that stands for Strategic Overriding Communications and Knowledge Objective. And each one of those words deserves about 30 seconds of our time. Strategic. A message is strategic because you thought about it, you rehearsed it, and you practiced it. It was a conscious decision to deliver it. Look at the reverence we have for writing. Nobody keyboards and then presses send without reading it over. Letters, performance appraisals, documents are read, polished, edited. At work, maybe we show them to a colleague, think about them over coffee, put them in a desk drawer, wait overnight before signing them. But speech, well, people just start talking. One of my big messages is treat the spoken word with every bit as much care, reverence, and attention as you do the written word, and you won't have problems. Overriding stands for the fact that you're your own worst enemy. You know too much about the topic you're trying to discuss. You're not sure with that massive information that you have whether to release it sequentially, historically, in order of importance, start out with a statistic, an anecdote, your favorite way of talking about it. Well, here's what I think. That massive information, pretend it's an iceberg. There's just 10 to 15% floating above the surface that's visible. That is your most important message. Deliver it first. Then deliver the next most important and the next. And just like in physics, the iceberg will right itself. There will be a new 10 or 15% to deliver. In Hollywood, they call it the elevator pitch. I get in, press 4, big-time movie mogul presses 8. I've got 4 floors to make my pitch for that movie. It better be short, powerful, memorable, and it better be a SOCKO. C for communication. If this were a written document, I wouldn't have my facial expressions, body language, tone of voice, volume, gestures. And in oral communication, I don't have fonts, italics, punctuation, bold, headings, paragraphs. So there's really a 50% difference between oral and written communication, and people have to respect that. What is good oral communication? Simplicity, brevity, clarity, repetition. And yes, I'll repeat that. Keep it simple, keep it brief, keep it clear, and repeat it. You know, popular songs are only 3 minutes long, and we hear them over and over again. Commercials are 30 seconds long. Some of them are 15 seconds. You can get a message across very quickly. K for knowledge. Facts, statistics, figures, certainly. Remember all the different ways you can disseminate a statistic. It could be a percentage, it could be a whole number. A graph could show the change over time, a bar chart, a box plot if you like statistics. But I'll caution you, stories, images, pictures, anecdotes are way more memorable than statistics. And explore those and see which ones which will work for you. Objective. What is the objective you have in your communication? If you're making a speech, you want applause. You want nodding. Signing on the dotted line if you're in the sales department. A big, hearty handshake. If you're dealing with the press, a headline, a picture, a clip, a few sentences for the newspaper, a short clip for radio or TV, a 1-minute answer in a public meeting, and maybe a 15-minute speech. That's getting long. I have great news for you. I don't know you all, but whatever traits you have, I can guarantee you, you have the traits you need to be a great communicator. Let's look back in history about who people generally say was great. Winston Churchill always comes to mind. You know, some of his secretaries could not understand his lisp, which they said was so pronounced, they couldn't make out a word. John Kennedy, sure, the great debater, won the 1960 debate with Richard Nixon. You know, his hands visibly shook as he made his speeches. George S. Patton in World War II had a high, squeaky voice. Canada's Nobel Prize winner Lester Pearson lisped very badly. And his political foe, John Diefenbaker, who had great electoral success, visibly shook all over the stage. Well, if that's what's considered great in the 20th century, you can be great too. Be authentically you. No disrespect to those folks. Be authentically you as opposed to a poor imitation of someone else. Any views expressed here are not necessarily those of the Mackenzie Institute, its speakers, sponsors, or supporters. But the Institute is dedicated to fostering public discussion, debate, and education about security matters. Google the Mackenzie Institute to join the discussion. The Mackenzie Institute is grateful to its sponsors and supporters. Some of our short pods and long talks are a result of the support of HEATHBRIDGE Capital Management Limited, the National Post, and Dundurn Publishing. A secret weapon for you: caring, knowledge, and action. Now, most men will be happy to tell you what they know about, even what they're about to do. But very few of them will tell you what they care about deeply, what they empathize about. And that's a mistake, because the studies show that these three tools can be equally powerful, and you should not neglect one of them. Here's a case study. Ronald Reagan in the United States was, by actual study, known to be caring and empathetic, or perceived as that way by the electorate. Less on knowledge and action. How about Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, transformed the UK through action, limited knowledge and empathy. Pierre Trudeau, the philosopher king in Canada, high on knowledge, limited action and empathy. But each one of them, and I use these three because they were in office at the same time, they achieved great electoral success in similar cultures and jurisdictions at a similar time in history, through vastly different tools. Imagine if Reagan could have shown his knowledge and his action. Imagine if Thatcher could have shown her empathy. How about if Trudeau could have shown his empathy and been more of a man of action? Would have been enormously powerful. Don't neglect any one of these. You need a freight train of SOCKOs, 100 boxcars long, let's say. I use the freight train metaphor because each SOCKO should stand on its own, live on its own, and make sense on its own. It is connected to the next one, but it has independence as well. Many of the boxcars will be short, memorable, true, polished statements, the tip of the iceberg, as I discussed. Others will be facts, figures, statistics, anecdotes, and stories. Many should be audience-centered. Remember the radio station that everybody's listening to, WIFM. What's in it for me? Audiences want to know what they get out of the deal by listening to you, agreeing with you, and seeing the world the way you see it. Finally, some boxcars should be real, tangible, behavioral, memorable, quantifiable messages, things you can hold in your hand, Exhibit A in court. So if it's safe driving, boy, I'm not going to let my loved ones go out the door with only that vague phrase, safe driving. Safe driving is hands on the wheel, limited distractions, no cell phones, don't speed, no drinking and driving, and watch the weather. Make it real and tangible, and you'll have greater success. Now, if we all go out to dinner after this taping, and I offer to buy everybody ice cream, I'm sure most people would want some. And if that's all the information I have, and I bring back a cone and a sundae and a split and hot fudge and Italian gelato and different flavors, I would be correct. Every single one of those things falls into the general category of ice cream. But if you have an allergy or a preference, you better speak much more specifically to get the job done. Another quick example. Show me, everybody show me with your hands, how wide, there's no wrong answer here, how wide is a trickling creek? Go ahead. Yes. How about a babbling brook? How about a rushing stream? One more, a raging river or a majestic river. I think most people generally agree those things are a little wider because they describe well the thing that they are naming. And this can have serious consequences. Nobody in his right mind brings a motorboat to a trickling creek. No parent in her right mind takes a 2-year-old with water wings to a raging river. So you have to be very specific, paint word pictures, and tell stories to get your communication across. Here's a quote from the Harvard Business Review. This happens in industry as well, and it costs lots of money. Many executives thrash about with mission statements and vision statements. Unfortunately, most of those turn out to be a muddled stew. They're usually a boring, confusing stream of words that evoke the response, true, but who cares? Now, you know this is what people say on the shop floor, and you as customers say it. People need to define excellence, service. What are you really going to do for me? Quality, durability. You need to make these things really tangible so that the shop floor knows what to do and the customers know what to expect. Don't forget, you are the most powerful message there is in a powerful communication system. 50 to 75% of your impact by actual study is nonverbal. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. Seconds count. Just like in a social gathering, open, double-handed gestures leaning forward a little, lots of eye contact. That's what creates credibility, memorability, and power. Now here's verbal karate. Now I know a lot of people think of karate as beating people up, and there is that in the activity, I'm sure, but also in the history of the martial arts, there is this concept of taking the opponent's energy and using it to your advantage, and protecting the opponent even while you do it. And that's the context in which I think of verbal karate. Here are the pitfalls or the attack mechanisms that you can experience. Someone who comes to you with the false premise or the setup. You know, considering the low regard everyone has for all of your ideas anyway, how could you expect us to buy this one? Now, you don't have to get mad. You don't have to bite on the abrasiveness. You can simply politely dispel the false premise and say, I think most people agree this is the right way to proceed, and here's why. How about the either-or question? You know, either you're naive or being paid to lie? Well, you don't want to think that over for too long. Not paid enough, of course. Don't choose. Say neither. The real issue here is neither. What I'm here to tell you is. And those other phrases are bridges to get back to what you want to talk about. The irrelevant question. You know, people come to public meetings or events or negotiations with their own pet peeves, hobby horses, and will be happy to go on about them. You don't need to get mad at them. You don't need to try to shut them up. You can simply dignify what they're saying and bridge back to what you want to talk about. I'm sure at another public meeting we should go through that in detail, but on this occasion we need to discuss topic A. You know the empty chair? You know the distinguished professor from Northwestern University who's done a study who conclusively has proven that you don't know what you're talking about? Or the article from the newspaper from 2 days ago that proves the same thing? Don't get involved in a fight with someone who isn't there. You already have an opponent. You can't fight somebody who isn't in the room. All you do is dignify it. Oh, I'd like to see that professor's report. I'm sure it would add to the discussion, but our research shows the following. And you're off the topic and on to your firm territory. The flip-flop, very popular in politics. Once you said this, now you say something that is the opposite. That's a flip-flop. What you do is you show the consistent goal, motive, hope, or aspiration, or change of conditions that may have caused you to change your thinking. The unfocused challenge, you know, oh, come on, give me a break. Really? Or just the nonverbal, Don't bite, don't get combative, turn up the energy. This is the time to really turn up the energy and say, yes, really. And you know how else this will work to our advantage? Don't cave in. What if? You know the hypothetical question? Well, I always think, well, what if there were no such thing as gravity? That would be a problem. You don't need to deal with the hypothetical question. Don't repeat it, don't speculate, stay in the real world. And then the accusation or the negative, don't repeat those. Keep it in the positive. Any views expressed here are not necessarily those of the Mackenzie Institute, its speakers, sponsors, or supporters. But the Institute is dedicated to fostering public discussion, debate, and education about security matters. Google the Mackenzie Institute to join the discussion. The Mackenzie Institute is grateful to its sponsors and supporters. Some of our short pods and long talks are a result of the support of HEATHBRIDGE Capital Management Limited, the National Post, and Dundurn Publishing. So to review the martial techniques, you may get a clear question, you need to deliver a clear answer. You need to be fit and rehearsed and strong to do it. You need to add the SOCKO to the clear answer as well. Key word. If you're accused of being part of the problem, the problem as I see it is as follows. And using that key word is a semantic bridge to what you want to talk about. You can hold up a mirror to your accuser. Instead of the problem, say the solution as I see it is as follows. Any phrase that gets you over to what you want to talk about that you like and you don't wear out is a bridge. Another approach is, let me point out the following, let me start over here. All that can work. The small concession, it must be very small because otherwise you have to live with a very big concession. While some may agree with your position, I think most people would see the world in the following ways. Be careful about how big a concession you make. Cherry picking or being selective, you know, at the grocery store when you only get the good cherries. In a long, rambling question, pick the aspect of it that you want to deal with. The refocus. If there's another way to look at things, here's this issue. Refocus it where you're strongest. Telescope to the big picture that affects all people. Microscope to the individual case, the case in point. And flag to say, hold on a minute, I just want to point something out. So you can telescope, refocus, microscope, and flag to move around that issue and be where you are strongest. The top 10 pre-event checklist. If you're going to speak or present somewhere, do your research. The number of people, the previous speakers, the goals, the time you have. Reconnaissance. Napoleon said time spent in reconnaissance is seldom if ever wasted. Visit the room. Brainstorm. Gather the facts, stories, statistics. Write. Short sentences. Imagery. Calls to action. Edit. Eliminate commas because they are long lists. Make 2 short sentences instead of 1 long one. Eliminate subordinate clauses and tongue tiers. Rehearse. Out loud, preferably on video. D-Day, arrive early. Test the mic and the visuals. Schmooze. Shake hands with people. Maintain eye contact so when you start presenting, you see some friendly faces. And deliver to one person at a time for several sentences. Don't look like a pair of windshield wipers going through the room. And linger. Answer questions and make some friends. Here are the top 10 listening tips if you're in an acrimonious negotiation or a mediation. Clear your mind. Don't assume you've understood what you just heard. Exhibit positive body language. Take notes. Seek clarification. Reframe and verbalize what you think you understood. Unbundle the complex issues. Express what you understood in another way to check. Draw what you hear. And feed your brain with oxygen by deep breathing. The top 10 ways to calm down when you're tense. Count from 10 to 1 backwards. Breathe deeply. Write a venting note, but don't give it to the other party. Change your posture and or seating. It'll change your method of thinking. Say that you need to use the washroom and excuse yourself. Keep a picture of a loved one handy and imagine he or she's in the room. Stroke your hair, your earlobes, or your face for comfort. Imagine you're speaking underwater. Slow down. Picture a calm, green, sunny place with a flowing stream and speak from there. And speak to the child, parent, and spirit across the table from you. The top 10 rules for brainstorming to get new ideas and energy into your negotiation. Clear your mind. Banish technology. No cell phones or computers. No value judgments. Capture every idea. Draw ideas. Use word association. Make a collage, poem, or a song. Ask advice from younger people. Ask advice from older people. And get input from other disciplines. The top 10 techniques to deal with tough questions. 1. Rephrase, paraphrase, and reframe. Refocus the discussion. Mirror when the opposite view is true. Ask the audience if they have the answer. Ask for the questioner's views. I bet the questioner will have one. Break into groups for discussion. Ask for more tough questions to get them all out on the table. Become the recording secretary with a flip chart and gather all the questions. Brainstorm even more difficult positions. And at the beginning of your speech, announce that there will be a time limit for questions so everybody's forewarned. So I hope that this has been a powerful communication platform for you. I advocate investing in your communication. It'll save you time, save emotional energy, and save you money. I hope you've enjoyed this Mackenzie Institute Long Talk. Join us for our next briefing, either a breakfast or a dinner or an all-day event. In the meantime, Google the Mackenzie Institute and join the conversation.